Please be seated. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Ori Brafman. Mr. Brafman is a best-selling author, and his unique approaches to problem solving have been implemented in the top levels of the U.S. military and Fortune 500 companies. He co-founded the Fully Charged Institute, which brings leadership teams together for personal growth and well-being and to help them improve their respective organizations. In addition to graduating from UC Berkeley and Stanford University's Graduate School of Business, he is a distinguished teaching fellow at UC Berkeley, a senior fellow at the Coach K Leadership and Ethics Center at Duke University. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Brafman.
Good afternoon. So I have some good news and a lot of bad news. First, the good news, this is my mom. I was born in Israel. She is a Jewish mom, which means that after every single engagement, she asks me how it went. So if I disappoint you, I disappoint her. Now for a lot of bad news. First, you can tell from my accent, it's a little bit weird. I grew up in Israel and moved to Texas, so shalom you all. And I was 9 when we moved, and this is what we were expecting. And this is what we got. Okay. Anybody recognize this? El Paso, Texas. So we got out of there, moved to the San Francisco Bay Area. I went to UC Berkeley as an undergrad. In case this is probably kind of news to some people, but Berkeley is considered one of the more progressive schools in the country. Is that? Not only that, but I was a peace studies major, so a lot of my friends look like this. I'm a card-carrying member. The other piece of bad news for me is the challenge is that the starfish is going to be the hero of our story today. And how do you say that to an organization that is about exerting force and lethality? A spider is much more of a kind of a badass kind of an animal, right? And yet the starfish is the hero. My job would be easier if it was the tiger and the spider, the cobra, right, and the spider, the badger and the spider, even the abominable snowman. And then the last piece of bad news for me and my challenge. Authors do not write their subtitles, the publishers do, and the subtitle of the book is The Unstoppable Power of Leaderless Organizations. Talk about a pinko commie word, right? Especially in an organization that is about leadership. And to understand why this might apply, we go to the perspective of thinking of leaderful organizations. How do you bring leadership from the people in your organization? And to understand that, we look at the Apache and specifically their namesake. And we're going to go back in time to 1519 to Hernan Cortez, who was arguably one of the most powerful people in the New World. And he shows up with 80 men and 80 horses to modern-day Mexico City. Tenochtitlan was the Aztec capital. And when he shows up, he marvels at the pyramids, the roads, and he's not really there to sightsee. He's there for one reason. So why was Cortez there?
Not to sightsee.
You're right. What was he looking for?
Gold.
Right, so he says, hey, take me to your leader. And they say, well, here's Montezuma II. And he gives Montezuma II an ultimatum. He said, give me all your gold or I'm going to kill you. So you're Montezuma II. What do you say?
You cannot have my gold.
Unfortunately, Montezuma was not a member of the US military. So Montezuma turns over the gold, and Cortez is not a man of his word. He kills Montezuma, And he also blockades the capital. Within 2 weeks, 200,000 people die. And within 2 years, the entire Aztec civilization is conquered. Now, there are a lot of reasons why the Spanish were so effective. First, they had new weapons, right? Horses. Second, there was a lot of infighting amongst the tribes. Third, there was the introduction of biological weapons, right, in the forms of the diseases that they brought. There's a lot of reasons, but we can't ignore the fact that with 80 men and 80 horses, Cortez was able to conquer the Aztecs and do the exact same thing just a few years later with the Inca. And it's the exact same deal. Give us all your gold, we're going to kill you, kills the leader, and then 2 years later, the Inca are conquered. It's with the winds of victory in their backs that the Spanish show up in my own stomping grounds in the Southwest and encounter the Apache. And unlike the Aztecs, the Apache didn't have any roads, didn't have any pyramids.